You'll send your strangers packing, or I will.
You were in a hole, and so was I.
They want us.
Then they're gonna get us.
Episode 8 of Dutton Ranch ended in a way that nobody was fully prepared for. Carter walked away from Beth and Rip. Hain turned his back on the Jackson family. And the discovery of the illegal cattle operation in Mexico cracked open a secret that had been buried under the surface of this entire season. But here is the thing. That cattle operation is not even the biggest revelation waiting in the finale. The trailer for Episode 9 is filled with layers that go far deeper than what most people are discussing. There is a man in that trailer who changes the entire power structure of the show. There is a line spoken by Beth that tells you exactly what kind of war is coming. And there is one shot, barely 3 seconds long, that may be telling us who does not survive the night. This is the Dutton Ranch Episode 9 trailer, fully explained. The trailer opens with something that looks almost routine on the surface. A new delivery of cattle is arriving at the ranch. Set 2 days after the events of the penultimate episode. Rip and Beth are standing there watching the animals being unloaded and counted. It looks, for just a moment, like it could be a normal morning. And then Rob Will pulls up in his truck, and the entire scene shifts into something else entirely. What follows is not a conversation. It is not a negotiation. It is Rip tearing into Rob Will with the kind of controlled fury that tells you this man has been holding himself back for a very long time. And in this moment, what comes out of Rip's mouth changes the stakes of the entire season in a single sentence. He says directly, "You're running drugs, not cattle, not stolen livestock, drugs." And Rob Will's response, "I'd rather die than tell you," is the line that should have every single viewer sitting up straight. Because that is not the answer of a man who is simply stubborn. That is the answer of a man who is more afraid of the people above him than he is of Rip Wheeler standing right in front of him. Beth's response to Rob Will is delivered with zero hesitation. "You're already a dead man walking." And when Beth Dutton says something like that with that tone, you believe her completely. But what makes this moment so significant is not just the threat, it is what the threat reveals. Up until this point, Beth and Rip had been operating under the belief that they were working alongside Buler on something that, while morally complicated, was at least in the world of cattle ranching. They knew there were secrets. They knew the edges were dark, but drugs are an entirely different category of criminal enterprise. And the fact that it has been running beneath their feet without their knowledge tells you just how deep the deception has been. Think about that for a second. This is not a small side operation. This is a structured, deliberate narcotics business that has been woven into the fabric of everything happening on that ranch. And Beth and Rip have been standing right on top of it the entire time. The cattle operation was never just about cattle. It was a cover, a logistics network, a way of moving things across the border without attracting the kind of attention that would shut the whole system down. The cattle are the reason trucks cross. The cattle are the reason men move at night. The cattle are the reason there is a route at all. And once you see it that way, everything that has happened this season starts to make a different kind of sense. This is the moment everything changed, not just for Beth and Rip, but for the entire moral architecture of the show. They are no longer standing at the edge of something complicated. They are standing in the middle of something genuinely dangerous. And the people who run that danger are not going to be happy about two outsiders suddenly knowing too much. There is one shot in this trailer that most viewers scrolled past without fully processing what they were seeing. It is the moment where someone, and the framing strongly suggests this is Mariano, appears to be giving direct instructions to Buler. And the reason this matters so much, the reason this one shot quietly rewrites the entire season, is because of what Hain did in Episode 8. Hain made a phone call. He turned his back on the Jackson family, and he reached out to someone. At the time, it was presented as a betrayal, but it was not entirely clear who was on the other end of that call or what the consequence of making it would be. Now the trailer is giving us the answer. Mariano is not just alive. He's operational, he is close, and he is stepping back into a situation that he appears to have never actually stepped away from. Buler told everyone that Mariano was dead. She said it plainly, she said it convincingly, and for a while there was no reason to question it. But what the trailer is now suggesting is that Mariano's death was either fabricated entirely or it was a story Buler constructed to give herself more control and distance from a figure she has never truly been free of. And this connects to something Buler said a few episodes back that felt like a throwaway moment at the time. She said she hated her father. She said it quickly, without elaboration, and the conversation moved on. But she also mentioned in that same window that Mariano had worked closely alongside her father, closely enough that the relationship was formative, closely enough that whatever dynamic existed between Mariano and Buler's father has carried forward into the relationship between Mariano and Buler herself. What you are looking at, when you put all of this together, is not just a business partnership. This is a control structure. Mariano is not someone Buler brought in to help her. Mariano is someone who was there before her, who helped build the operation that she now manages, and who has allowed her to believe she has more autonomy than she actually does. When he says to her in the trailer, "You'll send your strangers packing or I will," he's not making a request. He's not offering her a choice. He's reminding her that the ranch, the operation, and her continued survival within it all exist because he permits them to. She has been running something that was never entirely hers to begin with. And Beth and Rip, the strangers in question, are now a problem for a man far more dangerous than anyone on this ranch has yet encountered directly. This is the hidden detail. Buler is not the top of this organization. She never was. And the desperation she has shown all season, the urgency to retire, the exhaustion, the way she carries herself like someone who has been running from something for a very long time, all of it starts to make a completely different kind of sense when you realize she is not a boss. She is a manager, and the real boss just arrived. Here is what this could all mean for the finale, and why the pieces fit together in a way that points towards something far more significant than a single episode shootout. If Mariano is indeed the man giving orders to Buler, and if his arrival has been triggered by Hain's phone call in the previous episode, then it is entirely possible that Mariano has been the invisible architecture holding this entire operation together from the beginning. The cattle stolen from ranches in Mexico, the cross-border movement, the narcotics hidden within that logistics network, it is possible that this was Mariano's design, built over years, and that Buler's role was always to be the visible face of it. She owns the ranch. She signs the paperwork. She shakes the hands. He controls what moves and when. And if that is true, then Buler's comment in the trailer, "You were in a hole and so was I," takes on a meaning that goes beyond just this season. She may not be threatening Beth. She may actually be confessing to her. Because Buler has been in a hole for a very long time, and the hole has a name, and that name is Mariano. This could be the moment where Buler, faced with the reality of what is about to happen, chooses a side. It is possible that she has been looking for a way out, that she has been desperate to retire precisely because retirement would mean finally escaping the weight of what she has been carrying. And Beth, who has survived the Yellowstone Duttons and everything that came with that world, might be the first person Buler has ever met who she genuinely believes could help her get free. That would completely shift the dynamic of the finale. Instead of Beth and Rip facing Buler and Mariano together, you could be looking at Beth and Rip and Buler on one side, against Mariano and his men on the other. It would reframe Buler not as the villain of the season, but as someone who got trapped in a life she did not choose and could never escape, which would be a far more interesting and emotionally resonant conclusion to her arc. Then there is Rob Will. The trailer's framing strongly suggests that Rob Will does not have much further to go. He's caught between Rip on one side and a cartel-connected operation on the other, and neither of those is a position that ends well. It is also possible that his death comes not from Rip's hands, but from Mariano's. Mariano, if the theory about his character is correct, would not trust Rob Will for a moment. Rob's father was someone Mariano apparently despised. And inheriting a grudge is one of the oldest patterns in this kind of world. Rob Will may have walked directly into something he did not understand, assuming that taking over the ranch would give him power, not realizing that the ranch's actual power structure runs through Mariano entirely.